Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for today's podcast episode. This is going to be amazing. Just waiting for my dear guest to join. I'm so excited for you guys. If you guys have any questions at all throughout the podcast, hi, Steve. Let me let you in. Just give me a second. Oh, hello, Fabio. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone, for joining. Hello, Steve.
So
Look,
wonderful
we
to be
made
here.
it. You made it in the first shot. The first shot you were here, so I'm very happy.
Well, I'm here again.
Yay. Okay, let me just raise my volume so I can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, my love.
You must be clear audience.
This is why I love you, because I love your humor. I love just your approach to mediumship, but also just your personality. It's just very nice. Very nice. So everyone, thank you for joining in. I see more folks coming. Let me just send you little waves. This is Steve and Hermann. And basically, I just want to thank you guys. For those of you who are new to the podcast, this is the Earth Angel Experience podcast, where once a month we have a wonderful guest joining us for us to be able to speak about all things spiritual related. So whether they consider themselves psychics or mediums or light workers or healers in any way, shape, or form, this is really the platform for us to just open up that conversation, have you guys tune in to be able to ask the questions that you might have, and just listen in, because this really is a community for you all. This is a community for us to expand, for us to learn from each other, for us to develop, and really for us to really feel that we are part of something bigger. So a lot of you are embarking on a spiritual journey or just even curious about it. And so just having a community of people where we can talk about any and all spiritual related matters, I think is super important. And that's why I created the Earth Angel Experience podcast, just to share wisdom and love and light with you all. So thank you for tuning in. And today I just want to really welcome my loving mentor, my amazing mentor, who has just expanded and taken my perception of mediumship and all that I've learned about it to a whole new height. So Steve and Hermann, welcome.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Hi, Juan. Oh, you're gonna love this one. Another medium on. So there might be mediums and psychics joining in. So super excited.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. So Stephen, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, for sharing your energy with us, your light. I want to just quickly tell everyone just a little bit about you and how we met. So Stephen actually is an author. I have his books here. They're super amazing. Mediumship Mastery, The Ultimate Guide, and Mediumship Mastery to Advanced Techniques That Work. And so when I purchased this book, I was just in my mediumship. I'm normally a reader. So I always read books on mediumship, psychic development. It's just forever something I've just been doing my entire life. When I came across his first book, I said, oh my goodness, okay, so this is someone who I definitely resonated with. I definitely understood what he was saying, but most importantly, it was the way that you were speaking about it, Stephen. I just really thought that it was like a unique approach. It was very different, but very open. And so I really liked that. And so after the first book, he came out with his second book. And after that, I said, okay, I have to meet this guy. I have to just meet up with him, see what he's about. And so I reached out to you. I think it was via email. And next thing you know, we just started our mentorship together. So I just want to say thank you again for these wonderful books. They're constantly my resources. Do you have anything to say on these books? Or we're going to talk about your books later too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like my books.
They're great.
But I'm really teaching, so yeah. And I'm working on my third book too, so that's another whole story.
I know, I cannot wait for that. And we'll talk about your books at the end. But so everyone, thank you for tuning in again. Thank you, Theology Queen. Hi, everyone. So Stephen, you have 40 years experience. You've traveled the world. You've had tens of thousands of students that you've mentored, that you've trained. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? So usually the questions kind of start from the past with me, and then we work our way to where we're today.
Well, if you're really psychic, you'd know all that.
So this is why I love Steve. You see, it's going to be a fun podcast, guys. So Steve, tell us about baby Steve. Tell us about your upbringing. Tell us,
Okay.
was your home life spiritual in nature? Were your parents or your guardians spiritual? How did this all come about for you?
Well, I've always really been open. I've always been open to the spirit world. Actually everybody, because we're all eternal spirit souls. We have these temporary physical bodies. And if I was really psychic, I could make a prediction. Every single one of you watching this podcast, you're all going to kick the bucket. Hopefully not this afternoon or this week. But we're all going to go there. So when we come in here, right, we take birth, and everybody has a subtle body, and we have psychic abilities, we have intuitive abilities, which it's not like someone who's a medium is on some type of pedestal. So I was always really open. The first time spirits talked to me was when I was 2 years old, which I still remember, because I have a good memory. And I've never taken lots of drugs or substances, alcohol, things like that. So my mind's very, very, very clear, which is really important when it comes to mediumship. So I grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts, which is in Western Mass, about 100 miles, 2 hours west of Boston. And it's kind of like a hippie type of place.
Oh.
It's very alternative. So you just have a lot of expanded consciousness there. People into a lot of alternative things and, intellectual inquiry. So I was exposed to a lot of things when I was really little, like different types of yogic meditation I learned when I was little. And I'm really glad I was brought up there. My family wasn't really particularly religious in any way or spiritual in any way, but once you get into mediumship, you can't really get out, but I was always really drawn to it. And it's
what do you mean by that? Can you kind of go back a little bit when you say when you get into mediumship, you can't go out?
Can't get out.
I was just having this conversation with my mother yesterday, so it's interesting you brought it up.
What it is, everybody has mediumistic abilities, but it's not necessarily everybody's calling. However, someone who, if we look at all different cultures worldwide, indigenous cultures, there's people who are healers. And usually, if you really want to be a good healer, the more you can relate to other people, the better, right? Because then you have empathy for them. And then they also are going to be, if you genuinely care, they're going to be really open to someone who's helping them. And that's why we see, let's say someone is, talk about substances, they're into substance abuse or alcohol, right? They go into a rehab. They go into a 12-step recovery program. What happens? Well, they sponsor all these people going through the same thing. And that's like way better than someone who's just studied something in college. Maybe they have a degree or they've taken different classes, read some books. But when you've really been through something, you really gain expertise. So with mediumship, you get into it. There's a higher purpose to it, isn't there? And it's to help other people. It's to help people get closer to God and also help people to understand who they are in this material world. We have these bodies, but I'm not my shirt. I drive a car. I'm not my car. I'm not the vehicle. But we're consciousness. And after we kick the bucket, so to speak, we continue to exist. So mediumship is awesome. You get into it. And sometimes people get into it, well, it's because they've lost, maybe their husband passed over or their child, or they go through some type of divorce or separation. They're devastated. How many of you watching this have been devastated? And that just ultimately it's going to force you to go inside yourself, hopefully to improve yourself. And sometimes people really go downhill before they try.
Interesting because what I'm getting from you is that through the trials and tribulations, through the pain, through all the challenges that we have, that's actually a vehicle to allow us to become better mediums.
Yeah, that's right. And so, I teach mediumship full time, so I've got my books, but I teach a lot of courses online, Zoom, and in-person types of things. I work all over the place, and that's great because you need to practice and you can learn different techniques. You can learn how to go into different meditative states, raise your vibration, altered states of consciousness. So that's wonderful, but really your life experience, what you go through in life, how you handle those situations, how you mature, how you evolve as an individual, that's where the real growth is going to take place, and it's on a soul type of level. So someone can really work on themselves and it's going to be really good because it will also enhance what they're doing with the mediumship. But someone can study mediumship. Oh, I'm going to be clairvoyant. I'm going to levitate to the ceiling. I'm going to be so wonderful. Have all these mystic powers. But really, they're not necessarily, just because someone's clairvoyant or they can levitate or whatever it is, does not make you spiritual. It's just
Yes.
artistic ability, like, wow, it's really good someone can do art or they can do music. That's not really within those qualities. I mean, yes, they come from God, but within themselves doesn't mean someone is more morally developed, spiritually developed, ethically developed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So my question then is, how would you describe someone who is confused with whether or not they are psychic or whether or not they are a medium? So we know that we have the intuition and we know that we're all intuitive, but what if there are those folks out there who can think of something and then that thing will come true, or they have an image of an event that's about to happen and it happens?
I think
Those
people need to be medicated. We need to. Well, you're in New York. There's Bellevue. Actually, I know.
Soon you'll be here in New York too. We're gonna get the crazy energy on you, the New York energy, when you get here. No, but if someone is psychic and they're wondering whether or not they're a medium, how would you describe the difference between the energies and the frequencies of energy between being a psychic and a medium?
We have our physical body and we have a subtle body, right, that interpenetrates the physical. We have mind, intelligence, and all of this kind of like covers over our false sense of who we are within our mind. And then we have the physical body, and we have telepathically, right, we can communicate with others, both in this world as well as in these subtle dimensions. So someone who is intuitive or psychic, which we all are, as one cultivates an awareness with that, they're going to be aware of the energy of the atmosphere around them. You go into a room, and we can go to Studio 54. It's probably got really bad energy, some of these clubs in New York. Or you go to maybe some church, cathedral, or temple in New York, and it's like really beautiful energy. We could blindfold you, and you'd feel the vibrations, like the difference. We could contrast it. Just like we run into people. Sometimes you run into someone, they're trying, maybe you need to get a new vehicle. So you go to the used car lot if you can't afford a new one. And they're just really sleazy and dishonest. I mean, you can feel it in their vibration, can't you? It's in their energy field around them. So someone that's psychic, or, you're around someone, we talked about healing earlier, they're really loving, they're from their heart. Well, you're going to be able to feel that from them. Not so much what they're saying, but the vibration that's there. So that's psychic, and you can even hold an object physically, and it has energy on the object. We call this psychometry or object reading, which is like measuring the history of the particular physical object. And I can think of, you go to some archaeological site or maybe a geological specimen, you can hold it and you'll feel the energies of events and people that are connected with the object.
I don't mean to digress, but a thought just popped in. I think Spirit wants me to share this. There was this, I had went into a basement of a really old apartment building. And there were people that were moving out of the building, and they were getting rid of furniture. And so there was this metal cart that seemingly looked nice. It was for something that was like super old. It looked pretty new. It needed to be dusted a little bit, but I in my head I said, oh my gosh, I could use this. I can bring this in my shop. I can actually bring this to my place of work and maybe put something cute on it, like a candle. The minute that I touched this, Steve, I started getting flashes of medical equipment with blood, with like syringe. I don't mean to scare everyone on here, but Steve and I, we kind of get into all these kinds of conversations. But yeah, I started seeing syringes, I started seeing medical equipment, and I started like hearing pain, like sadness. And I touched this, it was like a cart, and I had my two hands on the cart, and I just like let that go like a hot potato, and I just like walked right out. This happens to me all the time. This is psychometry. Can you talk, while you're talking about what you were just saying, can you go a little bit into the psychometry aspects?
Yeah, well, psychometry is where you take an object like what you're just talking about, and you can hold the object. I mean, I can actually just have it right in front of you, and you can connect into the energy of the object, and there's the history of that particular object. I mean, I can think, gosh, so many times. I mean, I can give you many examples of that. I mean, I remember one time I was in the UK doing some work, and I went to this old man. It was an old estate. It was a museum, and there was this one room, and the entire room was just filled up with torture devices. It wasn't really a big room, but the entire room was, I mean, all these really interesting artifacts. Now, you could feel the ugly energy that's there. So we can just imagine if we took a piece of metal from one of those devices, gave it to someone, they didn't know what it was, just hold it, and feel it. You would feel all the pain, all the situations historically, that went into that particular object, involved in hurting other people. So, of course, also with psychometry, you could hold an object, and you can also connect to the spirit world, and they can come through as well. That's one way.
Would
you can also
the spirit that's associated with the objects come through in a negative light?
Well, it's not necessarily going to be the spirit that's connected to the object. It can also, in some cases, like let's say you handed me your ring, it might just be others, and it belonged to your grandmother. Maybe your grandmother would or wouldn't come through, but spirits connected to you, your guides and other people, they would probably come through and give you information, that type of thing. But we do this all the time. Someone gets something in the mail, they know how much money the bill is for. And so that's psychic. Psychic is like a telepathic or energetic connection with people in the physical world, living individuals in the physical world, object, or even a location or place where there's residue energy. But what mediumship is you're using your psychic, that same intuitive psychic ability, to make a telepathic connection with those in the world of spirit. Where's the spirit world? It's literally all around us. So we have to raise our vibration, but also make our mind very receptive so we can allow
spirit to come through. So
not work with us. They're pretty insistent about things like this.
So what would then be the difference between that and channeling?
Well, when you're bringing information through from the world of the spirit, I mean, you're basically channeling. I mean, like I knew this one medium out in he lived in the Phoenix area. I think he was in Tempe, in my Phoenix, Arizona area. And he was saying, whenever I hear the word channeling, I think of sewage canals. Now, if you go to Arizona, Phoenix, right, like they have all these like open sewage canals in the neighborhoods and stuff, which I didn't realize that. I've been out there quite a few times working, but yes, that's what he was talking about. So there's a lot of like if you go to Los Angeles, why do people move to Hollywood? Why do they move to the LA area? Who wants to be a star, right? You want to get into movies. So maybe you want to be a screenwriter, you want to be an actor, right? You go there. So for every potential job opportunity that opens up, well, there's like 5,000, 15,000 people there wanting that one job. And so what do? They watch, they end up being a wait, they wait at some restaurant, or maybe they work as a telemarketer. So that's not a lot of money. That's really, you move from Kansas to LA. Well, I'll tell you what you can go into is channeling. And all you have to do is just say you channel some type of highly evolved creature from another planet or God knows what, and you'll develop this cult following around because this is California. So it's definitely better than waiting tables. It's more lucrative. So you have a lot of that. But really, anytime you bring through information, it's from the spirit world, that's channeling. And channeling can be with the medium full, just like I'm talking right now, if I'm mentally open, they can put thoughts into my head. Now that's technically channeling, isn't it? Or they can put me into a very deep unconscious state where I'm not even conscious, I'm not aware of what's going on. They can speak to me. Now that's also channeling. And you can have anywhere in between with that. So
let's say we have those folks who are interested in trance or getting themselves so that their ego is completely out of the way and that they're blending with spirit in such a way that they don't even remember what they've said. Can you talk a little bit about that type of?
Just in general. Okay, so if you talk about trance channeling, and not knowing what's going on, in most cases, people are aware of what's going on. Now, there's degrees of, first of all, any kind of mediumship involves altered states of consciousness or trance, whatever the word you want to say. And then we have like any type of mediumship. It all involves like a level of influence or control. And what that is the spirit personalities, they mentally, right, telepathically, and also energetically, they exert control over the medium, right, the central nervous system of the medium. So they can control physiologically the different physiological systems, right, the movements, the mechanism, the medium's movements, this type of thing, and they can influence the mind and use the medium, in terms of communicating ideas. And of course, the more they push the medium out of the way, the more the personality of the spirit's going to be able to express.
Now, people might be thinking, is that scary? Is that possession?
No, it's scary. It's very scary. No, it's totally
so can
normal.
You talk about
it's
that?
all teamwork and everything. So okay. So what generally? Okay, we're thinking about trance channeling, which became very, very, very popular in the '80s. Or all this. Oh, Shirley MacLaine had her Out on the Limb. I remember when that was on TV. I never watched it, but all these people, who went to the spiritualist church. This is like in January '87. I remember it was on. I'm pretty sure it was that. Or no, maybe it was '88. No, it was '87. It was on some kind of mini series. But anyway, yeah. So that became really, really popular, and when the spirits work, right, they work with the mind, and then they can also control the voice box. Now, in most cases, what it is, it's like a composite. Let's say I was working with different spirits of my personality and the spirits, and it might be 97% of me and 3% of them.
So what do you think about those people? Those people that's, for example, Abraham Hicks, those people that are demonstrating a trans message and they're completely speaking in a different voice.
I guess I would just, okay, I mean, there's a couple things. So like I say, it's a composite of two people, the spirits and the medium. And it can be a lot of the medium involved, or, the more, or it just depends percentage wise. And I mean, ultimately, you get to the point where the medium's just totally unconscious. That's pretty rare. In most cases, the medium's going to be to some extent conscious of it. So they can control it where it's like kind of like you're off to the side. You can, your mouth is moving, right? And the words are being, like your voice box is being used to speak, and you're aware of it when it's happening. But you can't really interfere so easily. Now, even that's a bit rare too, because quite a few people, they go, oh, I'm in trance, and they're very involved with it. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not getting stuff and everything, stuff's coming through, but it's colored, it's expressed through the medium, and it can be a mixture of the medium. The medium's part of that. Now, the more the medium can get out of the way, and this takes a lot of work, the spirits are going to be able to come through. So the other thing that goes along with it is there's a fine line between your own imagination and genuine psychic impression. So you have people who are, I guess you call it like a pseudo trance. Like they think they're in contact with some spirits, and they might be really, really, really sincere, and it's like they're totally deluded. So there's that, and then you just have people, that they did a lot of acting in drama club in high school. They moved to Los Angeles. They can't get a job. They don't get the position or whatever. They can't even get on the Jerry Springer show. And what happened?
I love the Jerry Springer show.
Well, they're not even really such a good actor, but you don't have to be a good actor to pretend you're in trance. And believe me, you can just put all the stuff out there with the right publicists, the right backing. I mean, you can come up with books, your videos, all these things, and you can get marketed real well and promoted, and you'll develop a following of people. So there is stuff which is fraudulent. So now someone who's a medium, as a byproduct of your development, you can tune in to someone when they're working. because it's objective reality. I mean, if I'm saying I've got Big Chief Bacon Rye, my Native American Indian guide who's coming through, you're going to be able to connect in, and that personality is going to be there, you see.
Yes.
And, you know, you might not necessarily see the spirit, but, you know, with clairsentience, you're going to be able to sense, you're going to be able to feel the energies and the personality, that in fact, the entire atmosphere, if you let's say you're working in whatever the premises, you know, physical room, you'll feel the energy in the whole room. It will completely usually change even before you start working. But there's just a lot of fraudulence and a lot of delusion. So someone's popularity, I mean, you have some, especially back in the 80s and 90s, all these people became big, you know, channeling this, charging lots of money. You know, all these people are into them. They're on TV and all this stuff. No, and you know, question things. Always question things. Test the medium. Test the spirit world. And I remember this one medium I knew in Massachusetts. He's kind of confrontational. He's a very knowledgeable man. And this one woman, she ran kind of a shop like what you have.
A healing,
you know,
center, my love.
Well, yeah, it was like a healing center, but, you know, education, because she had classes and stuff, and she had some type of psychic development class. All these people were going to trance, and that wasn't her background. So she says, you know, John, you have to check this out. So he showed up, you know, the next week to the class. He says, all these people are going to trance. And he goes, I understand, because he's very confrontational. You know, a lot of you are going into trance. We're going to have to, you know, validate this. So he pulled out some type of like hairpin or whatever, hat pin or whatever it was. It's quite sharp and long. All those people shut up for the whole evening. None of them came back. Now, I was telling that story. I remember one time I was teaching this mediumship workshop in Iceland, and I remember this one medium got all excited. You know, I was telling him the story. He just said, you know, one time I broke my hand. He explained how he'd broken his hand, and he had, you know, it was all bandaged and cast, that type of thing, with his fingers and hand. So he was doing some type of seance, you know, session with these people, and this guide entranced him, was coming through and speaking to the people. And the guide told the people there to grab his hand, or to grab onto one of the fingers and pull. So I think they pulled, and the guy said to pull even harder. And of course, he didn't feel anything because the spirits would have protected him. They would have worked with him, so he wouldn't have. But it was the idea behind it, you know, to demonstrate that there's, you know, a higher intelligence which is working through the medium, so to speak. So the spirits will do stuff like that. Like in China, they have some mediums, southern China. They go into trance. They stick 6 very long needles through the tongue of the medium.
Okay.
Why do you think they do that? To demonstrate to people, right, doubting Thomases, that there's actually some kind of phenomena. There's actually something that's taking place. But a lot of I always question things. And if something sounds like it's from some type of like science fiction B movie from the 1950s, it probably is.
Yes.
Especially
when we get those folks. So I've had people come to me saying that they were beings from another planet.
So they probably were.
To say the least. Beings from another planet, and that this one particular gentleman was saying that whenever he didn't listen to these beings, that they would put worms in him.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that he wasn't feeling well because he had worms in him. So but he was apparently healing people, and he had a following of people. So what do you say? What do you say to those people?
You can get parasites at certain restaurants in New York City, can't you? That's why they call them greasy spoons.
Actually, in New York City, it's gotten really, you're going to love New York City when you get back here. I feel like you're making reference. I have to defend New York. Born and raised New Yorker. It's not bad.
I know. I'm just, they've actually got, you know, it's not that bad.
Just bothering you. Okay, so, this is funny. Okay, what was I saying? You see how I just like lost my train of thought because I'm laughing so hard. Okay, so there are people that are very confused, and what would you say to those people who are actually receiving this type of information, but they're actually receiving it from a lower vibrational source? So we have higher vibrational frequencies.
Well, because someone's in the spirit world, I mean, you also want to test the spirit. You test the medium, but also the spirit. So you can have genuine mediumship and just have some complete wacko in the spirit world who's telling people things, and people just follow it. And you know, they don't really question it and stuff too. So this just the same thing in the physical world. You know, if you want to have discernment, you know, if someone is really good with finances, well, you want to listen to them, but you might not want to ask them about plumbing.
So, but what is happening to the medium? What is happening to the person that's bringing in the spirit? Is it the spirits? Is it the medium's energy vibration that's at a lower frequency that's attracting a lower vibrational spirit?
Well, with mediumship, I mean, the big law of mediumship is, you know, like attracts like. So what we put out, we attract with mental mediumship, similar vibrations. So, you know, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, all these different components based on who we are, you know, how we live our lives. There's an energy that's around us, and that attracts in the physical world certain types of people to us, and also the same thing with the spirit world and everything too. So that's why it's really, 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 really important as a medium to work on yourself. And I always say there's a fine line between being psychic and psychotic. Perhaps some of you out there are, but it's really you want to be balanced as a medium and everything. So someone who frivolously opens up. I mean, this is we should talk about this. Yes.
Ouija
so you have
boards.
Ouija board. It's like being like a leaky faucet. So you have people, because this is all natural. I remember I was on some Facebook group for mediumship a couple of years ago during the pandemic, and someone was talking about, oh, you know, me and my husband, it's Friday night, I did my best readings ever. Me and my husband, we went to the bar. Oh, I was there all night, and I was giving, and I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, I'd never heard of that before, you know, going to a bar. I mean, why would someone want to go to a bar and do, I mean, that's just insane, right? So there has to be reverence for it, and you have to discipline your mediumship. So someone's learning how to do this, right? They're working with it. Well, you turn it on, you turn it off. Now, I remember when I was kind of just starting out, you know, getting into it, studying it and everything. I just want to work all the time, be open, kind of practice. And I really sometimes just open up, you know. And I remember my teacher saying, you know, only open up, you know, when you're in class and certain times. So you want to work with the best, you want to work the highest, and you have a spirit team, right? Your spirit band, they work with you. They're not there every moment. I mean, now they are connected to you, you know, mentally and energetically, but when you go to a development circle, they're there. It's like an appointment with the spirit world. It's very structured and it's controlled. Anyone coming through, they're vetted. They're permitted to come through. It's facilitated by higher spirits. It's not just like, oh, it's 3 a.m, Daisy. Let's get stoned and let's read people. Now, seriously, this is what people do. And you have all these shows on TV where these mediums, oh my gosh, I'm going through the fast food restaurant, you know, the driving part. Oh my gosh, right when I'm getting the hamburger that I'm going to eat. Oh my gosh, I can see a dead person behind the person working there. I mean, going up to people in shopping malls, going up to someone in a Walmart and giving them a message. Can you imagine that? And, you know, unless you want to get maced. So that's just like a lack of someone who really hasn't studied it very well.
Yeah.
Not sincere. But you have that, and it's very good on TV because it's sensationalistic. But really, you want to open it up and you want to close it down. But if someone is like that, they're just kind of frivolous with it. You attract frivolous spirits. It's superficial. You attract people who are not reliable in the spirit world. Now, the higher guides, it's not that they're infallible, but they're reliable.
Right.
Like they're there for a higher purpose. Now, if you go back into the 1800s, with mediumship, they used to call such working that way as being promiscuous seances, which has nothing to do with sexuality, but it has to do with just people opening up kind of for entertainment, for really mundane, again, superficial types of reasons. Does that make sense?
Of course. I feel that I totally agree. I believe a lot of what you just said, that the energy that we're exuding in our day to day. So for those who are trying to advance in mediumship or advance in their psychic abilities, the energy that you naturally think, those thoughts that are coming into your head, if they're negative, if they're at a lower vibrational state, if you tend to speak negative about yourself or about other people, and you're trying to open up and you're not doing the healing work that's needed, I believe that that's how it's much easier and likely that a lower vibrational spirit will get attracted to you, because you're not doing the energy work, the healing work needed to raise the vibration. There's also what I believe is spiritual work. People don't realize that spiritual work means work. You're working on yourself. You're developing on yourself, but you're also trying to be better than where you were. It's not saying that we're perfect. It's not saying that you were these perfect beings and that we never make mistakes, but it means that, you know, when we do make a mistake, we learn to be better. We grow from that. We become a better person from that. So my question for you, Stephen, is how can people, what are your tips and tricks or tools for people who want to raise their vibration, for people who feel that they are connecting to maybe a lower vibrational spirit, or they feel that their vibration is super low, or that they're not in a happy place in their life, but they're still trying to develop spiritually? What would you say to those people? How can they energetically help raise their vibration?
Well, I mean, when it comes to raising your vibration, there's a couple different, I mean, there's physically, how you're taking care of yourself, mentally and emotionally, and also spiritually. So all of those, there's things within one's lifestyle and practice, I mean, with all of those types of things that really ideally can be done. You know, if it's so much we should take care of ourselves. We start out with just with a physical body, obviously, you know, doing exercise. I mean, things like hatha yoga are really good, or traditional martial arts. A lot of those are good just because there's a meditative component. Plus, there's an understanding or integration of working with the subtle bodies as well, and the energy, which is life energy, which is really, really, really important. But on an emotional type of level, if someone needs therapy or they need help, they should get it. Or there needs to be some type of balance, you know, and, you know, there's just a positive thinking or constructive thinking. And so there's a lot of different approaches to that, or tools or ways that someone can go to heal themselves or work on those types of things, because it might be different for different people. And of course, when it comes to spirituality, it's really important, you know, just, I mean, you brush your teeth, don't you, Daisy?
I hope so.
See. Now, what color would your teeth be if you didn't brush them?
Oh gosh, I've seen some pretty gnarly teeth
Yeah,
around.
exactly. So they kind of get yellowish, then they get brownish, and then they wobble, and you can pull them out, which is interesting because, you know, in certain places, and if you go back historically, I mean, people just, there's no dental, you know, people just didn't take care of themselves, so their teeth will all fall out by the time they're 20. So with mediumship, you have to meditate every day. You have to pray every day. I mean, doing things like mantra meditation is really, really, really good, right? Because you raise your vibration. Even, you know, people chant mantras or sing mantras, you know, group others, you know, and this is really, really, really good. Now, the idea behind prayer and meditation, though, it's not just to develop our psychic ability. It's really to help develop a relationship with God, which is the most important thing. So if you work on yourself spiritually, there's going to be this beautiful light that's around you. Doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect, because this material world, it's not really perfect. It's not really our real home. You know, we're here, but what's really important, though, is doing as much as we can to elevate ourselves while we're here. And that's going to help you with your mediumship. And the higher spirits, I mean, they can work through anybody. I mean, even someone who's on a real low level, but it helps to be able to kind of meet them halfway. And to
I think that's beautiful. And you literally segue into my next question about meditating. How integral can you, because you mentioned mantras, and that's really interesting because people have had starting to spark an interest on the mantras. What is your favorite mantra? Like when you get into your state,
well,
what is it?
I really like, you know, chanting different Sanskrit mantras, like different names of God that are holy and divine, and the names of God. And I mean, God's like absolute, so the name of God and God are identical. It's like there's a difference, whereas, and the other thing is if you sing or chant different transcendental mantras, it's not like something like Coca-Cola where
That's what
you're
I
going to be
chant.
bored.
I chant Coca-Cola and chocolate.
Yeah, you can't chocolate, but it's not really, you're going to get tired of it after a while, but yeah, you can just like chant for hours and hours and hours. That's the whole thing. And it purifies your heart and it raises up your vibration. So actually, I mean, in New York City, there's so many different groups that have mantra meditation and different approaches. And that's something which is really universal. It doesn't matter if someone is Christian,
Right.
they're a Buddhist, maybe they're a practitioner of yoga, Hindu, whatever terminology you want to refer to, Judaic, there's all these different approaches and everything.
So I have a question. So you mentioned something interesting because you said that it's all about our relationship with God.
Yes.
Can you describe what God is to you? Because there's some people that might be joined that are tuned in now that they don't believe in God, but that they don't have a religion, but at the same time they're trying to expand on their spirituality. Who is God? What is God to you?
Well, God, the thing with God, it's just like if you went to New York City with 20 people going to New York City, they'd all have a different experience depending where they went. It might be really positive or really negative, and it also, what they describe might be a bit different too, because people are in certain. There's different types of relationships you can have with God and everything, but I think it's pretty common for a lot of people to kind of connect with God more like God is just this impersonal energy that you can connect with, and God is all pervading, but there's also a whole personal aspect of God too. So qualitatively, we're the same as God, right? It's the same quality, but quantitatively, we're not. Just like you have the sun, but we're not the sun. So the sun would burn us all up, but the rays of light come into the room, and they are part of the sun.
Yes.
So the same thing as a soul, we're tiny little pieces of God. We're children of God, and we're eternally one with God, but we're also simultaneously different. We have individuality, and God also has individuality. So you can't have a relationship with electricity in a personal way, can you? Like some type of energy. I mean, you really can't. I mean, how can you talk to your lamp and the electricity that's coming through it? It'd be kind of hard. But this is what people think. So God's your best friend, but God's your father, right? And then there's obviously the feminine aspect,
So are you referring to God as universal energy?
I don't know. I relate to God more on a personal type of level, as
Oh, that's
opposed
beautiful. Well, that's great.
yeah.
No, I'm glad
That's what
to
I'm
hear
talking
that.
about.
That's really nice because I know, there are a lot of mediums that, they say it's not God, it's everything that is, but
There's intelligence and then there's personality. I'm a person. I'm an individual. Now, in a human body, we can think about why we're here. We can think about the purpose of life and higher types of things. But certainly, I mean, we're not. There's a lot more. We're not everything that's just very temporary that's around us. We're actually eternal. We've existed before this physical birth, and we're going to continue to exist after this, which is what's really good about mediumship, because you can communicate with people and everything. So life is eternal, and there's souls just on a physical level in all these different expressions. Externally they may have a different form. They're in the cockroach body in the one of those restaurants right in Manhattan. Maybe it's in your neighborhood.
I'm going to take you to restaurants here and you're going to love it. Long Island City restaurants, you're going to love
Well, you just have to.
Guys, if you're from Long Island City,
like
comment to Steve right now all your favorite restaurants because we're going to prove him wrong when he's here. He's coming October 13th.
Yeah.
So start DMing me and texting me your your restaurant suggestions for Steve. Steve, I have a question for you. I want to talk a little bit about your experiences with other dimensional beings or extraterrestrials.
Oh, okay.
So Juan Francisco is saying, Long Island City spots like American Brass. So I might take you to American Brass when you're here to have dinner. You're gonna love it. Okay, so let's talk about extraterrestrials. So have you had, can you talk a little about in a way where people will understand? We kind of have to bring it down a little bit. So
yeah. Well, the thing
ETs.
is okay, Jesus taught, in my Father's house are many mansions, and he's not talking about condos on the Hudson River. He's talking about all these different levels of the spirit and everything. So you have, there's subtle worlds, and there's physical worlds all over the universe, and then there's also like higher, like spiritual dimension beyond all that too. So with spirit communication, I mean, typically we're connecting with loved ones, we're connecting with guides, people they've taken physical birth here, and including souls that might have been in the body of an animal. Maybe I had this one woman once in Florida, and she had been for decades like a zookeeper, and all these different animals were coming. She could identify all of them, because she had relationships with all of them and everything. Not just like a typical cat or dog that someone might have, or bird that someone has come through. So typical pet. But there's physical worlds too, and there's life in those places.
Yes.
Now, and there's different bodies based. The body that we inhabit it's for functioning within the particular material environment. And so, if you're under the water, obviously you have to have like some kind of body of a fish or
right.
that's in there.
So I have a question for you. Thank you for that. Can you give us an example of a being, like a physical being, not an energy form, but a physical being on another planet that you've encountered or experienced? And what was their encounter?
That's what I was talking about. I'm kind of explaining all this stuff. So you have, with mediumship, you can connect with individuals who they're on a subtle type of level, and they're not terrestrial, like they're from other worlds and everything too. Now, the other thing is if we talk about, we change bodies, we transmigrate or reincarnate, from one body to the next. And I mean, I've certainly had over the years, I have had people come I do sometimes get past life type stuff, but I've had people come and, they're in a human body, whether they're male or female, and they have been other places, other non-human forms of life, non-terrestrial, which has come through during the session. I've also had personalities in the spirit world come through who are not from Earth. And now that sounds a bit whacked out, but
no, it doesn't.
When you're working with the spirit world, all right, so let's say you're connecting, you can feel, a lot of it's sensing and feeling, and they come in with a certain energy. So their character, their attributes, everything about them, all their qualities, you can feel that. It's pretty neat. So with someone who is alien or extraterrestrial, the personality coming in, I don't like to say the intelligence coming in because that's kind of impersonal, but like the personality coming in, because they're people. It feels really, really, really different.
Yes.
Like the way when you gosh, I mean,
I can give you
feel a dog
example.
or a cat like a mammal, it feels really different than an insect. Like if you tune into insect's energy, or a snake, that feels kind of different than a mammal, reptiles and that type of thing. But those who are not from Earth, when they do come through, you can really, 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 really feel it and everything. I'm not sure if I'm putting that into words the right way. But
so
it's
can
even
you
a little bit
describe?
Because it's just different. And
yes.
it's a bit cold, and there's not this emotional. Now, I've had different types of extraterrestrials come in different situations. Now, keep in mind, in my experience, I believe that people coming in, the extraterrestrials, would have been in a subtle body, not someone who's in a physical body communicating that way, which could certainly happen, which is something different. So you have all these different worlds, and commonly with mediumship, like I say, you're going to be bringing through loved ones and guides and people who are connected to this world, because most of the people who come to you for a session, those are the people connected to them who are going to be coming through for them to help them with things. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
I wanted to just touch one more on the extraterrestrial aspect and the energy that you're feeling when they're communicating with you, how are they communicating through you? Is it through clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, or all?
Well, it's a little bit of all of those things. Kind of depends. And now keep in mind, they're being permitted to come through because I work with my spirit band, and they regulate who comes through from the spirit world. So they're not going to let someone come through unless they're, working on a higher type of vibration. There's a higher purpose for it, which doesn't mean that I won't bring someone through who's on a low level, but it's set up that way to help the person who's coming through and the person here as well, who's the recipient.
So would you say that you have rules with your spirit team?
Well, it's structured, it's disciplined. Yeah, I'm very disciplined with how I work and how I'm trained and how I go about doing it. And the spirits I work with too, because you want quality with what you're doing. Like I said before, you don't want to be leaky faucet. I mean, there's some people literally just walk around. They're open all the time, they don't, and that's just not reliable. They're not really connecting very well. And what's going to come through, even if it's genuine mediumship, won't necessarily be, like say, reliable. It's not necessarily going to be on a higher type of level consistently to help people, which is really, really, really important.
And that's just amazing. I appreciate that, and your experiences with that. If any of you guys have any questions regarding anything that Steve said, now's the time to submit your comments in. But Steve, we talked a little bit about your upbringing. We talked a little bit about that hippie era,
Yes.
that hippie phase. Can we go a little bit back, and at what point in time did you realize that either A, you were a medium, or B, that you wanted to develop as a medium? At what moment in your life did you realize, okay, this is my life, this is my path now?
Oh, well, I think I probably more like when I was a teenager, I realized, okay, I want to really do this as my path. But then I was into, a lot of the stuff I kind of got into. I remember, gosh, I saw this one I don't know, it was like 5 or 7 or so. I know, maybe I was 7. So I watched this one documentary on different types of, churches from around the world. I remember there's this one thing they had, and it was like these 2 men at the San Francisco church getting married. And I asked my mom how that could be. And then they went to England, to the spiritualist church. And I was like instantly drawn to it. And there's this medium bringing through, and I was kind of bored, a little let down by it. But it's this guy standing there, and there's a medium, he's bringing spirits through for the people in the congregation. But I was like instantly drawn to it. And I was like, wondered, wow, I really want to see that footage. And it was just a couple of years ago, I actually found it.
Oh, wow.
Quite prominent, medium in the UK, and it was some British, documentary type of thing, which I guess they'd used on the thing that I saw in the States, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so I was always like really drawn to that. I'd like pretend to go into trance or be possessed by another personality, those little things like that. So yeah, it's like second nature to me and everything. But I think more like when I was a teenager, I kind of just like, okay, I want to just do this,
And
so
how did it begin for you? When was your first mediumship encounter or spiritual encounter that you actually felt like, okay, there's a spirit here? Or was it your dream state?
When I was 2 years old, my mom's dad talked to me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, appeared to me. And so I was really open to the spirit world.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And is there a thing that you believe that children are very open to spirits, and it's very easy for spirits to come?
Yeah, kids are, and I really think that everyone is if they let themselves be. It's not, like I said, it's not some type of special gift. I just think it should be encouraged. Now, it is like art. You're going to have some people come in who maybe are a little bit more in tune with it or connected, feel more in touch with it than other people. But that's why, we have classes. I do a lot of teaching, so I can take some of them. They're an engineer. They're really anally retentive and all rigid with their thinking. And, there's ways of approaching it with someone so they get the analytical mind out of the way. Now, granted, someone like that, if they want to develop mediumship, it might take a little bit longer than someone who, they work as a hairstylist. They're working with their creative part of their mind all the time, that type of thing. But yeah, everybody has this ability, which is
that's so great. And so thinking about your journey so far, you've been doing this for 40 years, you've taught all over the world. Where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself next? Are you continuing on the path of teaching? Do you see yourself continuing on the path of where do you see yourself now?
Well, I'm really just, I really like, the healing, and I really like the teaching. I like all aspects of mediumship because it's all about love and it's all about healing. I work a lot internationally. I go to a lot of different countries and around the States as well. And I really like teaching. I like to work with people like you, and help people get in touch. It doesn't really matter what their level of experience is. I just want to encourage people because the spirit world, they need reliable mediums here who are well trained, with the right motivation, and the more of it, the better, which I think is really good. So yeah, I just want to do more of that. Obviously, working with the healing and helping people that way too is really important. But I'm really into the education.
Well, I think you're a great mentor. I think you're an amazing soul. And I mean, you guys, you can see why I just love this man so much. He just has the fun in it. He's humorous. He's knowledgeable. He's everything. So I wanted to let you guys know that even though Steve is here, someone has a question, ask him how come some people don't recognize things about their spouse or the people around them when they feel a lot of love for them. So we have a question for you. The question is, how come some people don't recognize things about their spouse or the people around them when they feel a lot of love for them?
I'm not sure for the question.
Yeah, can you restate the question? Do you mean that energetically? Are you talking about how come energetically you see things or feel things about your partner, but that you won't be able to express it because of your connection with them? Oh, I think what she's saying is if you're connected with someone emotionally, like you love someone, how come you're not able to read for them, or you have a block in giving them messages?
Well, okay. In terms of being able to connect people around, I think actually if you're connected to someone, it's really going to be really strong. You should be able to read them like a book. Really know them if the connection's really good. I mean, some people certainly block themselves off, or they're not that open. But just in general, I mean, we can, if we get in touch with our own intuition, we're really going to get a real sense of the nature of other people, and to trust that. Someone might act a certain way, but what are their real thoughts? What's their real consciousness, their real mindset? So when you go to the spirit world, everything is revealed. It's like you're naked. The emperor has no clothes. You can't cheat. You can't be dishonest. Everything is just there. It's totally, completely open. Whereas here, it's also open, but people, if someone can't discern those thoughts that are there, or where someone's really at, people can get away with things, basically.
Yeah, I think it's more about the discernment. The person is maybe too connected with the person, and their ego is in control. So it's almost like they're not hearing spirit, but they're actually letting the ego mind give them the information.
Yeah, or the way you want it. It's just like you have someone who we talk about, the used car salesman who's dishonest. Well, they might be really good, persuasive with their words, and energetically they're charismatic and kind of overpower someone and manipulate them into buying a piece of junk where the wheels fall off the next week. And if you have discernment, though, you can. And some of that just has to do with lack of awareness that someone has, which is why, just on a real basic level, any type of psychic development, psychic awareness is really going to help a person, not just with mediumship, but just more functioning in their own physical plane life, not to get in the car with the creepy guy with the creepy energy.
You mean the guy, there's a guy who called me and said that he had crystals in his van, and he wanted me to go in his van to get crystals.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, I digress. We have another question from Claudie. What does it mean to have a deja vu moment multiple times in 1 month about different things?
Wow. Well, deja vu usually has to do with someone has like a past life recall. Like I've been here before. I've done that before. So if it's genuinely deja vu, probably has to do with like a spiritual awakening, like your guides kind of influencing you to have those for the purpose of getting you to watch this type of podcast and start to learn more about this and develop your own abilities. That's why this stuff happens.
Yes, it's funny because the person who wrote the question, something told me to tell him he needed to see this podcast. So I already know that he's embarking on his journey. And so there's a reason why you're here, Claudie. You're having, so for deja vu, for me, these are experiences you've had in previous lifetimes that now you're re-remembering. It's like a remembrance that's occurring. So if you're having this multiple times, you're starting to remember, your soul is starting to wake up. Let's see if there's any more questions. Call me Enigma, Corey. So what advice would you give to those of us who are hesitant to tap into their mediumship abilities because, well, it can be scary? Haha. How will they know they are ready? What would be the next step?
Well, when the dark spirits come after you and levitate your bed to the ceiling, then you'll know that you took the wrong path. No, actually, it's really natural. It's totally normal. It's a really good thing. But, we watch all these scary movies and TV shows. Typically people do, don't they?
I stopped. I can't do it.
But education is what it's all about. So fear is caused by someone's ignorance, lack of awareness, lack of experience. Like someone, I'm really afraid to drive a car. But if you're having someone teach you how to drive and it's there, they sit with you and they show you, maybe someone feels all this anxiety. Over a period of time, that anxiety is going to lessen, it's going to dissipate, and eventually the person will just feel really comfortable driving the car. Now, there's still risks involved in driving. You don't want to drink and drive, especially in the Bronx. And of course, with mediumship, if you get the right type of instruction and someone, they're qualified, you feel comfortable with them and you resonate with them, maybe with other people you're working with, step by step, over a period of time, your guides will work with you at the pace you're ready for. They're not, at least nowadays, they really don't hit you over the head with it too much. Like they're not, a little bit to get you into it, but they're not going to give you anything that you can't actually handle. And you're going to learn to have more confidence in yourself and actually learn to trust them. And it's a really good thing. Now, of course, as you start to open up, they may start to work with you a little bit more. And people will give you feedback. Healing is what it's all about. We place our hands on people, we pray, and the spirit healers, the angel healers, the spirit doctors, they'll come very close and they'll work through you. So let's say you do that with a friend or an acquaintance or loved one who's going maybe mentally or physically, they need healing. They'll tell you, like, my gosh, I can feel the energy coming through you. I feel so good. And that's going to make you feel, it's going to encourage you. It's going to make you feel like, gosh, I really want to continue this. Because in the Christian, in the New Testament, right, the gifts of the Spirit, what did Master Jesus teach, right? And he said, greater things than I you can do. So that's really what we are. So they're spiritual gifts, and they're used to help other people. So the more we're comfortable with that, all that fear is just going to go out because we're going to understand even on a scientific level of what's actually taking place.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yes, Corey, I hope that was so beautiful for you, my love. I hope that resonated with you. We have another question from May. Tips on how to differentiate messages that are coming for me from the messages that are for people around me. So she wants to know, when she's receiving messages psychically, how does she know that what she's receiving are for the people around her or for her herself?
Gosh, I guess it depends on it's the content of what's being said to you. The asteroid's going to hit the Bronx. That might be for everybody there.
I guess what she means is, if she's picking up, let's say, if she's picking up an energy that says, let's see if you can be more specific, May, so that way we can try to capture your question. Can you give a specific example of how the messages, how are the messages you're receiving? In what way do you want it differentiated? Are you just not sure if the message is for you, or are you thinking the message is for someone else, or is it for the both of you? I can say that sometimes when messages come through and there's more than one person, sometimes it's really for a collective. Well, you can be picking up on that energy.
If you're talking about working as a medium.
Oh, no, as a psychic. I believe so. May, you can clarify.
Well, if you're working and you're getting information and it's for someone else, you're going to be drawn to that person. They're going to direct you to that person.
Oh, she's saying during a reading. So she's saying during a reading.
During a reading. Oh. Well, if you're giving someone a reading, the information is for the person you're reading for, not really for you. Although sometimes, there's things that you're going to be saying to someone else that are also meant for the medium. Or
Will resonate. Yes.
Yeah, maybe someone's going through some kind of situation in their life, and they may have people coming to them who are going through similar situations. So some of the advice that you might be giving might be things that you need to work on yourself. So as a medium, when you work with a lot of people, you learn all this about psychology, about people, what makes people tick. People here in the physical world, but also the communicators.
That's right. And it's interesting, Steve, because, when I'm in my healing sessions, what happens is I actually get themes for the week. So when people come in, it's interesting how everyone is coming in for that same purpose. So let's say if one week people are coming in and they're having relationship issues with their loved one. And so there's lots of heartache and heartbreak. That would be my spirit team will bring in all the people for the week that are dealing with that.
That's exactly how it works. And part of that also, Daisy, has to do with your training, because you if you're familiar with certain things or certain types of information, and you're going to see too, it may mirror in some case. Let's just say a medium was an alcoholic and they've recovered, they went through that all. They'll get a lot of people drawn to them, but also directed by the higher spirits who are going through the same kind of issue that they went through. Or someone loses a child and then they become a medium. Well, they're going to be a really good instrument for someone who's lost a child.
Right.
It'll just be, so you're going to see similar types of themes.
Yes. I mean, spirit is so smart. It's just amazing. The stories and the weeks, the things that happen, you can't make this. So you could write a book. Well, you have two, so I'm looking forward for the third one. But we have one more question. So Felipa is asking, and we covered this already, my love. You probably joined in late, but quickly, Steve, if you can just recap what it means to be a medium for you.
Oh, well, being a medium, I just really love working as a medium. I really like helping people, and it's doing God's work. I mean, depending how you go about it, but it's to help people to get closer to God. It's to bring love and to bring healing to people. And sometimes people say the purpose of mediumship is to prove the continuity of life. It's all about evidence, which I don't really agree with that. I feel that the purpose of mediumship is to help people to get in touch with themselves and to get closer to God. And certainly,
that's so beautiful.
I mean, sure, you have people that are an atheist, or there's someone who's grieving, they're really going through. So you might if you bring the evidence of survival, now that's really good in those cases, because it can transform someone's mind. It can heal the pain, that someone's dealing with over a loss of someone close to them. But ultimately, it's to help us to go up to a higher type of level and everything. So mediumship, everybody has it. And like I said earlier, the more you get into it, you won't be able to get out.
And I love it so much, I never want to get out.
No, I don't want to get out. It's good. It's a good thing. Now, I know they have that movie, Escape from New York.
Oh my gosh. You have all these New York references. Guys, start DMing me.
Remember
all the
movie The Warriors?
Remember the Warriors
movie? The Warriors movie, Coney Island?
I love Coney Island.
Yeah, no, I used to hang out in Coney Island on Brighton Beach, that whole area. So anyway, but the movie The Warriors, right, that's where they're from. They're from like Coney Island, the gang. That's like a movie.
We're just going to create our own gang, the mediumship gang, and then we're going to go to Coney Island and hang out.
And then we can put like lots of graffiti and stuff there.
So guys, I just want to say to everyone who tunes in, I truly believe you were meant to be here. Thank you for watching, Steve and I. Thank you, Steve, for everything, for all of your wisdom, for your support, for your love, for your messages. I wanted to let you guys know a few exciting things. So Steve is an author of these two amazing books. This has helped me in my mediumship journey. I absolutely adore and love the Mediumship Mastery one. I really like this because of just his tips, the way he explains the exercises. The exercises are really neat on here. I love that he's also, speaks a lot about empathy and opening up oneself and working on oneself, and how to be a very bright, clear channel or a bright, clear medium in order to connect to the other side. So you can pick up these books on Amazon, but why this is important that you guys are tuning in now. He's actually going to be here at Earth Angel Crystal October 13th, where we're going to be doing and welcoming him to do a book signing, but also a demonstration of mediumship. So if you guys are interested, I'm going to have the link up soon on my Instagram and also on my website. He's also going to be on my newsletter. And so October 13th, he's going to be here. So Steve, you're going to be with the New Yorkers now. You're in for it.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, when I do the demonstration of mediumship, I'll be bringing to your loved ones, to your guides. But what's really neat is Daisy's going to give me, she has this extensive file on every one of you. She's going to share it with me. So I know which loved ones to bring through. I'm just joking.
He's joking, guys. It's all spirit coming through. There's no cheat sheets. He won't know anything about you. And so he's just an amazing medium, an amazing human, amazing soul. And I'm so honored to welcome you, Steve. I'm so honored that you are here on the podcast. And I cannot wait for you to be here. On the 13th of October.
Well, also, I have a YouTube channel on
Yes.
mediumship education. You know, if you look up my name, Steve Hermann Medium on YouTube. So that's for mediumship education. And I have my books.
And your website.
I also on my website. But I also do have ongoing Zoom classes, which are at 9 o'clock Eastern, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, different. I open them up every 6 weeks. If you're interested, get hold of me because we'll be opening those up again in October. Columbus Day weekend, if anyone's interested. I've got some spaces still for my 20th annual psychic mediumship retreat, which is in Western Mass. So it's just a couple hours from New York. Very inexpensive.
I was going to be there, but that weekend doesn't work for me. But guys, really definitely go. If you can, go. I mean, he is just like on another level. Yeah, and it's October 6th, 7th, 8th, right, Steve?
Yeah, it starts Friday night and it goes, it's all day from morning to the evening on Saturday, and then we end around 1 on the Sunday, the 8th. And it's, it's mixed level, so whether you're a novice or very experienced. And I keep the group very small, so hope there'll be under 10 people. I don't have these large, even my classes online, I'll have about half dozen or so, because I like to give a lot of personal attention.
That's amazing. And so since I know you're still new to Instagram, Steve, where can they find you? How can they email you?
Gosh, that's a good question. I mean, I guess I can give you my email. It's Steve and then RADHE, and that's at gmail.com.
Perfect. So, yes, that way people can email you. And also, if you guys can't find him or can't find him on Instagram, just DM me and and then I'll connect you guys. But he's also going to be here, so you guys can come here, meet him in person for the meet and greet and book signing. He's going to be doing private readings if you guys are interested in that. So I'll also have tickets for that. So we're going to have the first portion, which is book signing, and the second portion, which is going to be a ticket event. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. It's going to be lighthearted, and it's going to not be spooky, right? We're not doing spooky this time, right, Steve?
No, I'm not spooky.
It's Halloween. We have Halloween month, so it's not going to be spooky, but you guys are going to love it. So
yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward. It's going to be really fun. I like New York, so it's going to be
Yay. So thank you everyone again, and thank you, Steve, so much for today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daisy, and thanks all of you out there, and God bless all of you, and please get hold of me if I can help you in any way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. God bless you all. Bye, angels. Okay, now I have to just hang up. I just have to remember how to do that. Okay, bye, everyone. I think I got it now.